Now, we'd like to start the first session of this contest. Let us welcome the first speaker. The first speaker is Mr. Yuya Kubota. His speech title is The Chain of Illiteracy. The Chain of Illiteracy. So, Mr. Kubota, please.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, and let's wait for the audience to be seated. Okay. Please wait for a while. Wow, so many audience. It's great. Okay. Well, seems to be ready. Again, thank you, Master of Ceremonies and distinguished judges and questioner. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pak Sai, a boy from Indonesia, once said to his father, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to school." But his father replied, "No, son, we don't have any money. You must work instead of going to school." As a result, Pak Sai remained illiterate all his life. 40 years have passed, and his son said the same thing to Pak Sai. "Hey, Dad, I want to go to school." But sadly, Pak Sai's answer was just the same as his father's. "No, son, we don't have any money. You must work instead of going to school." I felt so sorry for Pak Sai when I read his story and saw his picture on the website of a certain NGO. And at that time, I realized how fortunate I was to be born in a country where everybody takes receiving a decent education for granted. So I started to think about what can be done to help people like him. And today, I'm here to talk about the cycle resulting from the lack of education and poverty in developing countries. In developing countries, hundreds of millions of people are denied a decent education. The United Nations says that there are more than 700 million people in the world who cannot attend school. And the main reason for this situation is poverty. And as a result, they have great difficulties throughout their lives. For example, though they dream of working in a company, they lack the basic academic skills, which are the so-called 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Consequently, they are condemned to a life of physical labor and the low wages that go with it. So they have to spend their entire lives marred in poverty. And this situation repeats itself over and over again. So if parents were poorly educated, their children also end up in the same situation. Many people in developing countries are simply part of the chain of illiteracy. Well, now, some of you may wonder what the problem has to do with us. And the answer is nothing if we choose to ignore it. But should our consciences allow us to ignore it? Please imagine yourself stuck in that chain of illiteracy. How would you feel? Hopeless and helpless, I'm sure. We have to cut the chain of illiteracy by the power of education. And it is an indispensable source of power, enabling us to broaden our path through life. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we who live in developed countries are the only ones who can cut this chain of illiteracy. And actually, governments in developing countries are too inexperienced, too understaffed, or simply too poor to do it. So, what can be done to help them? The best way, of course, is direct action. Go to developing countries and help with NGO projects such as teaching children on the spot. But it is quite difficult to make everybody involved in this action. So, an excellent substitute is to help out from here, in your home country, by participating in projects run directly from Japan. And for example, there's a project named World Terracotta Movement, which is handled by UNESCO. And you can start from a donation from, just 1,000 yen per month. That will certainly not break the bank. You still have plenty of money left, right? According to the Nikkei newspaper, in developing countries, it costs about 500 yen per month to let one child go to school. So please, think about it. With your 1,000 yen, 2 children can go to school for a month. In other words, you can help break the chain of illiteracy with just some of your pocket money. And your donation money would be used for many purposes, such as buying stationery, supporting families, training teachers, and so on. And actually, I am already a supporter of this project. After donating, I received a report from the UNESCO about the project, and it made me realize that some innocent lives were saved from terrible destiny through my small donation. Ladies and gentlemen, now I took the very first step to break the chain of illiteracy. And next, I would like all of you here to join me. Plamati, a girl from Nepal, couldn't go to school in her childhood. But thanks to donations, she eventually became literate. And now she's working as one of the members of the project, supporting children in Nepal to get an education. Of course, we still have a long way to go to cut all the chains of illiteracy. But if you join this kind of projects, you can turn Paksai's into Tlamati's. We can certainly go one step forward. Although all of us know about the illiteracy and poverty in developing countries, there seems to be very few people who are actually taking action for this problem. Many people think that this is a problem happening somewhere else. But is that really the right thing, to shut your eyes to this situation? This is my last contest, and I want to emphasize that our small actions can change the world. Knowledge is power. Let's give illiterate people the power that comes with education, the power that breaks the chain of illiteracy, the power that will finally let them lead full and satisfying lives of their own choosing. Thank you.
Now, we have a question and answer session. Mr. Tamura, please.
Hello, Yuya-san. How are you?
Nice to meet you again. I'm good.
All right. Great. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on donation to cut the chain of illiteracy. My first question is that I understand that there are 700 million people in the world who cannot attend school because of the poverty. What is your motivation? What is your motive to help them?
Well, as I mentioned in my speech, when I read the story of Park Sai on the website of the certain NGO, well, looking at his life and looking back at my life, I realized how fortunate I was because my parents, for maybe in this hall, spent a lot of money and gave me, let me enter a good university. So that's why I thought I want to help people who cannot get a decent education.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about the priority of donation. There are so many people in the world who need money, and some of them can't go to school, some of them can't access food, can't access clean water, can't access doctor and medicine, can't access even the place to live. So how should we, as an individual, prioritize about where our money has to go?
Well, I think that, I believe that knowledge is really important. So I think education gives knowledge to people in the class. So, and it can give people the knowledge to, for example, like cultivate food or some kind of thing. So first of all, I think you should prioritize to support people in developing countries receiving education.
All right, I understand. So there are so many organizations, NGO, who supports education in developing countries. Why did you pick this Tokyo World Terakoya movement? What is the reason that you picked this out?
Yes. Well, I thought the World Terakoya movement is really attractive for me because it is because the movement helps people to earn a job. And well, other organizations and movements will actually support and educate people in developing countries. But the Terakoya movement said we don't only educate people, we help people to earn jobs. So that was the difference between other organizations and Terakoya movement.
Okay, I see. All right, here is the final question, and this is your 1-minute speech opportunity where you can repeat your core message answering this question. First of all, have you heard of ODA?
ODA, yes.
Okay. Japan gives $9 billion through the program of ODA. $9 billion is about 1 trillion yen.
Yes.
And that means that's our tax money.
Yes, that's right.
So that means each one of us, each individual in Japan has already given some money to people in the developing nations. So tell me why each one of us has to think about the donation again, despite the fact that the Japanese government has already taken care of in this field.
Well,
1 minute.
I made a research about the ODA from Japan, and I knew that the country which Japan is giving the biggest amount of money is Myanmar, and Vietnam comes second, and Afghanistan comes third. So Japan is actually already supporting to such countries. But the Terakoya movement, which I mentioned, is supporting other countries, for example, Nepal or Cambodia. So we can support other countries, other developing countries. So I think ODA is really important. It's actually making a great effort with, the $9 billion. And I think we should make more effort to help people for example, like Cambodia and Nepal. So both are very important. That's all.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tamura. The Q&A session is over. Thank you, Mr. Kubota.
Let us welcome the second speaker. The second speaker is Ms. Erika Taguchi.